Good afternoon, everyone. I am calling to order this meeting of the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. I am Councilmember Brooke Pinto, Chairwoman of the committee. Today is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and the time is now 1:44 p.m. We have a quorum today with presence of Ward 6 Councilmember Charles Allen, at-large Councilmember Anita Bonds, at-large Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie, and Ward 7 Councilmember on his way. We have one item on today's agenda, the proposed resolution 26-108, the sense of the council on supporting humane and trauma-informed responses to behavioral health crises resolution of 2025. This resolution was introduced by Councilmember Christina Henderson and was co-introduced by Chairman Mendelson and Council members Charles Allen, Janice Lewis George, Brianne Nadeau, Zachary Parker, Robert White, Anita Bonds, Matt Fruman, Kenyon McDuffie, Wendell Felder, and myself on February 28th, 2025. The committee then held a joint public roundtable with the Committee on Health on March 31st, 2025. According to the National Alliance on Mental Health, a behavioral health crisis is any situation in which a person's behavior puts them at risk of hurting themselves or others and/or prevents them from being able to care for themselves or function effectively in the community. Anyone can experience a behavioral health crisis, but particular populations are especially vulnerable to limited access to appropriate resources and care. Consider the following striking statistics. In FY 2022, the Metropolitan Police Department responded to over 36,000 behavioral health crisis calls. In FY 24, the Department of Behavioral Health's Community Response Team, which is staffed by trained clinicians and behavioral health specialists, responded to 5,671 calls, resulting in 3,459 interventions. In FY24, there were 294,439 substance use and psychiatric emergency department visits. In FY24, the DC 911 call center at the Office of Unified Communications received a reported 683 mental health calls. There are varying contributing factors to behavioral health problems and crises. Socioeconomic insecurity can adversely impact an individual's mental and behavioral health, compounding difficulties in accessing care and further heightening vulnerability. Approximately 20% of district residents experiencing homelessness or housing insecurity have an undiagnosed or untreated mental health illness and/or substance use disorder. These individuals are less likely to receive a proper diagnosis or treatment, more likely to rely on emergency room visits instead of specialists for care, and less likely to encounter a behavioral health professional during a crisis. The resolution, as introduced, asserted that behavioral health crises in the district deserve a high quality and urgent response. It also identifies critical gaps and service needs in the district for responses to and care of mental and behavioral health crises in order to be consistent with national best practices, as well as urged the mayor to take several actions to strengthen the district's crisis response system. My own approach here is premised on the idea that public health is public safety. That is, public safety is not just about law enforcement, but also about meeting fundamental needs and providing appropriate care. We've done this in a number of ways. For example, the Pre-Arrest Diversion Task Force, enacted into law by my Secure DC omnibus last year, reviews and assesses pre-arrest diversion as an important piece of public safety. While the focus of the task force is not exclusively responding to individuals experiencing behavioral health crises, and not all individuals experiencing behavioral health crisis need diversion, behavioral health crisis response is an important part of the diversion discussion. Likewise, last month, I introduced my Prosper DC plan, a comprehensive plan including 23 new bills to catalyze economic opportunities for district residents and businesses. Following the passage of my Peace DC plan earlier this year and Secure DC last year, Prosper DC addresses many of the opportunity gaps that can improve public safety in the district by reducing barriers to employment, business growth, housing, and youth development. We will continue to explore in all of our legislation and our oversight work every day additional ways to honor this commitment that public health, economic prosperity, and public safety are all intertwined. Our print maintains the forward-looking recommendations issued in the introduced version, but enhances and further elaborates on some of the initial proposals. We are grateful for the feedback that we've received from the Health Committee staff, the Metropolitan Police Department, the Office of Unified Communications, the Fire and Emergency Medical Services Department, and the Office of the Attorney General and others in the executive. I'll briefly point to some of the changes we've made. First, our print details how the public safety and public health ecosystem consists of a complex interplay of cross-agency action, information sharing, and coordination among OUC, the Department of Behavioral Health, MPD, Fire and EMS, and local area hospitals for crisis response and care in order to pinpoint needed areas of investment and improvement. Second, our print builds out the national best practices to which the district should consistently aspire and the resources and staff that are necessary to get there. Individuals, both adults and youth, experiencing behavioral health crises deserve care that is person centered, trauma informed, and provided behavioral health professionals equipped to de escalate crises and connect individuals to appropriate services. When there is a behavioral health crisis in the district, there must be resources for residents to have someone to talk to, for there to be someone to respond, and for there to be places to go for those in crisis and in need. The executive must work to elevate a health first approach, prioritizing behavioral and mental health specialists' assistance to law enforcement when handling behavioral and mental health challenges to ensure that individuals are connected to the appropriate services like counseling, residential psychiatric support, substance use treatment, and housing support. The multi agency response must be sufficiently resourced and staffed as informed by evidence based and trauma informed policies so that behavioral health professionals or those having received appropriate behavioral health training are also on the scene to assist those in need. Our print underscores that the district needs further resources to consistently meet national best practices for behavioral crisis response. Given the prevalence of behavioral health calls and concerns in the district, it is imperative that the public safety and health response system be robustly resourced, trauma informed, evidence based, and adequately staffed. We're thankful for all the public witnesses who testified and shared their experiences and recommendations, and are grateful for the Committee on Health's partnership and expertise on this issue, as well as the feedback that we got from the executive and the Office of the Attorney General that led to the resolution and report that we are moving today. With that, I move the print and report of PR 26-108 with leave for staff to incorporate this discussion, as well as any technical changes made in consultation with the General Counsel. On the print, is there any discussion? Councilmember Bonds.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chairwoman, for moving this piece of legislation. It is so important, and I certainly appreciate the health practitioners for their proposals. And I want to thank the Health Committee, and I want to thank MPD for joining in, providing adequate comments, input as well. This is a very trying time for many people, and this whole time in our history was brought to bear starting with COVID-19 during the health pandemic. And more, we're realizing that when we talk about the health of individuals, we're speaking of the mental health as well as the physical health. And so, as you pointed out in your statistics today, that those who are most vulnerable in society sometimes show indications of great need for mental health services, and they tend to be disconnected from the services. And so, with this piece of legislation, it's going to allow staffing and a little funding. And I want to commend you for moving this. This is the thing that we need to be doing to help throughout society. Of course, that's been your mode of operation all along, and I appreciate that. And I just want to put it on the record. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Bonds. Is there any other discussion? All right. On the print, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Great. The ayes have it unanimously. On the report, is there any discussion? Okay, on the report, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, the ayes have it unanimously. Thank you all very much for your time. Being no further business before the committee today, the time is now 2:51 and we are adjourned.